Old lady in the gym working out. Have you ever written an exercise program? Have you ever followed an exercise program? Have you ever looked at an exercise program and thought, that's too hard, too complicated, too long, too boring? Or have you looked at an exercise program and said, wow, I can't wait to do that, it looks exciting, I can't wait to be healthy, fit, strong, lean and energetic for the rest of my life? Some interesting questions. So I'm going to give you a quick analogy as an old lady who's been an exercise professional all of my life. When I first started teaching people how to exercise, I was a group exercise instructor to start with, and then I wanted to show people how to use the gym. So I went and did a course, I think I was 16, 17 years of age, and the course was 9 days long, and in that course we were supposed to learn anatomy, physiology, exercise programming, nutrition, aquarobics, group exercise, a first aid course, how to train pregnant women, how to train mature and motivated older people, how to train people with special needs, all in 9 days. So I got a bit of paper that said you are a qualified exercise instructor and you can go and look after the general public. But what it really was a recipe. So if I teach somebody how to bake a cake, I say this is the exact ingredients you've got to put into the cake. This is exactly how you mix the ingredients together. This is how long you bake it in the oven for. This is how you take it out of the baking container, out of the tin. This is how you ice the cake. This is how you put the candles on. So I show somebody how to bake a cake. But it doesn't mean that I'm a chef. It doesn't mean that I know how to create cakes. It just means I know how to follow directions. And that's the exact analogy that I would use when I came out of that 9-day course. I knew what to do supposedly, and I'll completely rephrase that. I didn't really know what to do, but I thought I did. And I had a bit of paper to prove it. I was a qualified exercise instructor. But I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. I knew what to do according to the rules and regulations I was told. This is how many sets, this is how many reps, this is how many exercises. These are the exercises to do for legs, for arms, for back, for chest, for calves, for biceps, for triceps, for shoulders. This is how to teach an aerobic class, how to keep in time with the music, how to put exercises together so people can follow them. This is how to teach an aquarobics class. This is what to do if you're in a first aid situation. Supposedly I knew all this stuff in 9 days. I'm just going to repeat that. So I went out into the general public and I did a lot of whatting, which is this is what you need to do. This is the exercise you need to do. This is the reps and sets you need to do. This is how many times a week you need to exercise. But not one time in that whole process did I ever ask why. Why is it that exercise? Why is it that many sets? Why is it that many repetitions? Why do we tell people to do this? I just repeated the what. It's really interesting now as an old lady, and I deal with a lot of medical professionals, specialists, oncologists, cardiologists, orthopedic surgeons, psychologists, exercise physiologists. And it seems that pattern gets repeated in every area of specificity when it comes to the human body. People go to university and they learn out of a book what to do, or they learn from a lecturer what to do. And they pass the test with what do you need to do in this situation. But nobody ever seems to ask why. Why do we do that? And when it comes to the medical profession and to our health and our fitness and our strength and our vitality and how much body fat we've got and how our body can defend against germs, viruses and diseases, all of the things that make us vital human beings, do we not need to know why? The what is almost irrelevant. Yes, that's the what. You've got this, you need to do that. That's the what. But why? Why do I need to do that? Why did that person get sick? And in the medical profession, I think that's the most important question. Not what to do when a person is sick, but why did they get sick? So it doesn't happen again. And if they've got people in their life who aren't sick, make sure they don't get sick. So why did that happen? Why did that injury happen? Why does that disease happen? Why does that person have that going on inside their brain? Why does that person have excess body fat? Why does that person have weak bones? And the why just keeps going on and on and on. There's a lot of what, but nobody can answer the why. And when you go to a medical professional, this is without being disrespectful in any way, shape or form, that is the only question that I ask. They're very good, the medical professionals, at this is what is wrong with you and this is what you need to take and this is what you need to do pharmaceutically or with some kind of medical intervention. But when I ask, why did this happen? Why did this person get this disease? Why did this injury occur? Why are you recommending that pharmaceutical? There seems to be very little answer. And when I say little, it's almost like red in the face, purple in the face, embarrassed, mumbling and fumbling and carrying on, but no understanding of why. Why am I giving you this medication? Some people come up with some stuff, and I actually think they're making stuff up as they talk, because it doesn't make any sense. And when I ask more questions about their answers, it just becomes a really embarrassing situation. Why am I sharing this with you? Do you want to be fit? Do you want to be strong? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be lean and stay that way for the rest of your life? I'll rephrase. Do you want to be fat, sick, weak, diseased, depressed, and not know why? Just seems ridiculous to even ask that question. So why is the world fatter, sicker, weaker, more diseased, more depressed, more anxious? Why have we got kids with age onset diseases? Why has that all happened? And how can we stop it from happening in the future? Surely that's the ultimate question, not what medication to take and what medical intervention you have to have and what surgery you have to have. Why do I need to have that? Is there a safer way? Is there a better way? Is there a faster, more effective way to do it than what you're telling me? And if whatever you're telling me is the right thing to do, why? Prove it. Tell me why. With an exercise program, surely that's just common sense, isn't it? When I was first taking people through the gym, I followed the protocol, I followed the rules of the gym of where I was, and my first position, ironically, was in a management position. I applied for a position as a gym manager. They wanted somebody over 30 with experience. I was 18 with no experience, but a ton of passion, and I was willing to learn. But what I was taught was very interesting. I was taught how to write programs for that gym, for the equipment in that gym. This is the program that you write for people. This is how many reps, this is how many sets, this is the exercises you give them to do. And I followed the owner of the gym around the gym with the program card, and he told me this is the exercise you give people, this is the number of sets, this is the number of reps, this is the piece of equipment. Which left me very short on information if I ever went to another gym that had different equipment, because I didn't know how to use it. I didn't ask any questions why, I just did what I was told. I didn't ask why. And the very sad part of that, and please don't feel sorry for me because it's my fault, I have a busted, broken, destroyed body, joints, ligaments, tendons. I've busted every part of my body because I never asked why. I didn't ask, why are we doing this exercise? How does it work? Is it safe? Is it effective? Is there a better exercise? I didn't ask any of those questions. I just followed like a silly sheep the people that told me what to do without asking why. So sore shoulders, sore elbows, sore knees, sore back, and not just a sore back, I've got a completely destroyed back. My body is completely busted and broken because I didn't ask why. I just followed like a silly little girl. I was impressed by people's impressiveness. And I'm sharing that with you because I could have saved myself a lot of hassle. But what I am very thankful for and grateful for is I learnt the lessons the hard way. That you have to know your anatomy, you have to know your physiology, you have to know how the human body works, how all the energy systems and the muscles, the muscular system, skeletal system, cardiovascular, respiratory system, immune system, digestive system, endocrine system, central nervous system, how they all work together to give me a healthy, fit, strong body. Now, I'm an old lady now, and I'm fitter and stronger and healthier than I've ever been. And my answer for that, if people say, how does that happen for you, Rowie, is because I started asking why. I stopped just believing the what people told me to do, and I started asking, why are we doing that? So the analogy again, if you wanted to become a great chef, you don't just follow the recipe and do what the other chef tells you to do, because then you just be like that other chef. And you don't know why you're doing what you're doing. Why do we mix the flour and the eggs and the sugar that way? Why do we cook the meat that way? Why do we cut the vegetables that way? Why are we doing this way? Not just, here's the recipe, here's the method, do what you're told, put it in the oven and hope that it turns out. What if that ingredient isn't available? What if there's people in your restaurant that don't want to eat those ingredients and you have to supplement them with something else? What if the stove's broken? What if you have to use a different form of producing that particular product? If you don't know why you're doing something, you'll never be able to do anything different than the what somebody else told you to do. And for me, that's embarrassing because my father taught me as a little girl, always ask why. Why am I doing this and how does it work? Not just listen to what people tell you to do. So when it comes to exercise, it's really interesting because you'll hear a lot of, this is what you have to do. These are the exercises you do for legs and these are the exercises you do for your upper body. And you have to do core exercises and you have to do calf exercises and you have to do biceps and triceps. And these are the number of days of the week that you have to exercise and the sets and the reps and the whole big hullabaloo of how to train. But if you actually ask, why am I doing this? It's very rare, and I've never had anybody who can tell me, why are we doing this? One of the really interesting questions I asked in the very beginning, why do we do 3 sets of 10? Now, the only answer that I could ever give somebody if they had asked me that was that's what they taught me at the course. You have to do, when you go to the gym, you have to do 3 sets of 10. Why? Why isn't it 4? Why isn't it 2? Why is it 10? What if somebody can do 11 or 12? What if they can only do 6? Why is there such set numbers when everybody's human body is completely different? And that's the question that I'm asking. If you are an exercise professional, if you're a medical professional, if you're a parent, a teacher, a coach, a boss, or a leader, and you want the people in your world to be healthy, fit, strong, lean, energetic, and the 4 things that I bang on about every day, healthy, fit, strong body, career or business that you love, be financially free and have great people in your life, so you have great relationships with yourself and with everybody that you bring into your inner circle. If you want your life to be awesome in all 4 areas, surely we have to ask how and why. Why would I do that and how does it work? Not just follow what the so-called experts tell you to do. Because this is the thing I've learned as an old lady. The experts all disagree. One expert will tell you to exercise a certain way and another expert will say, don't exercise that way, it'll kill you. One dietetic expert or nutritionist or doctor of dietetics will say, this is how you should eat. And another doctor of dietetics will say, if you eat that way, you'll die early. So who do you believe? And surely the only person that you could really trust and rely on is yourself. And the only body that you live in for the rest of your life is your own. And your brain lives inside your own body. So why not train your brain? Why not educate your own brain? Why not learn how your body works, how your brain works, so that you don't have to rely on an expert, because the experts disagree. And they will tell you what to do and what medication to take and what medical intervention you should have and what supplements are important and how many reps and sets to do and how many glasses of water and how many steps and what time of the day to eat. And there's a big long list of what's. But when you ask those same people, why would I do that and how does it work? Most of them don't have an answer. And very sadly, in my personal experience, none of them have an answer. Their only answer is the same one that I had when somebody said to me, why do you do 3 sets of 10? The only answer I could think of was that's what they taught me in my course. And that's what medical professionals will tell you. If they're being honest, if they really are straight down the line honest, they'll say, I'm telling you to do this because that's what I learned at university. That's what I was taught. I don't understand why. So here's a great thing to consider. If you believe something to be true, if you really think that you know that this is true, can you explain it very simply to a 5, 6, 7-year-old child who can then take that information and explain it to their 5, 6, 7-year-old friend and it makes sense? Can you explain something so simply that it makes common sense, it's easy to understand, you don't use big words, and you're not just regurgitating, not just repeating what somebody else told you? Because the beautiful thing about 5, 6, 7-year-old children is they will ask why. Why would I do that? How does it work? And you have to be able to explain to them, because if you can't, first of all, if you think you've got a great message and you can't explain it to a child, they won't be able to live that message for the rest of their life because they don't understand it. They won't be able to explain it to their friends and pass it on to the people in their life because they don't understand it. But isn't that the same as most adults? We just repeat stuff that we've heard. We regurgitate somebody else's opinion. We think we know it because some expert told us, but we don't critically think for ourselves. Why am I doing this and how does it work? Why do I do 3 sets of 10? Why do we do 10,000 steps? Why is breakfast the most important meal of the day? Why do I need to eat 3 meals a day or 1 meal a day or eat every second day? Every expert will tell you something different. The biggest question is, why would I do that and how does it work? If the person that you're asking the question can't explain it, then don't listen to that expert. Could that be a great idea? But more importantly, you want to ask yourself, Why am I doing this and how does it work? And if you don't know the answer, if it doesn't make sense to you and you can't explain it to somebody else and teach it to somebody else, is it time to go learn? I want to look after my body and my brain, so that's why I study it every single day. I live in this body. I'm an old lady. I want to look after it so I can keep being healthy, fit, strong, lean, and energetic for the rest of my life. So I have to learn how my body works, how my brain works, and I have to keep learning so that I can keep understanding how to have energy, enthusiasm, and excitement for life for the rest of my life so that I can live my life to the max. Super duper doo, how are you? Living my life to the max. Woohoo!